you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving on to Israel. Israel's President Isaac Herzog has stated that no action will be taken on Prime Minister Netanyahu's pardon request while the nation is at war. In an interview, Herzog has emphasized that he respects U.S. President Donald Trump, but Israel is a sovereign state and all decisions must follow Israeli law. He has explained that as head of state, he holds limited powers, including the ability to pardon, but must consider opinions from relevant authorities before acting on it. Meanwhile, Trump has repeatedly called for Netanyahu's pardon, saying the prime minister should focus solely on the war with Iran. Herzog had also clarified that the ongoing conflict takes precedence and no proceedings regarding the pardon are currently being considered. Furthermore, he has stressed that internal cases in Israel are handled according to the nation's legal process, regardless of external pressures. However, Herzog acknowledges his respect for Trump, describing him as a leader changing history while reaffirming his sworn duty to Israeli law. Let's listen into what the Israeli president has shared.
I said that I will consider everything seriously, but I'm obliged under the process and under Israeli law to await opinions that must be given to me by the relevant authorities. And that is why, of course, everything is on the table, but it has to be done according to Israeli law. I respect President Trump tremendously, honestly, and I take the brunt with a lot of affection and respect to him because he's the leader of the free world who's changing history. But on the merits of a case, which is an internal case in Israel, I am obliged, I'm sworn in, and I'm the President of the State of Israel.
Now we welcome back Mr. David K. Johnston. He's an author and journalist, joins us live from New York. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnston, for staying with us. Now, of course, this is not the very first time that President Trump has requested a pardon for, or pressured this Israeli government for Netanyahu. Why this soft spot for Netanyahu in particular?
Well, it isn't just Netanyahu. Donald admires dictators. He thinks of himself as the dictator of the whole world. He just doesn't have totally consolidated power. And he believes all the rest of us, unless we are doing his bidding, we're idiots, we're unworthy, we're unfit. And then Donald has no respect for criminal law. When he was a casino owner and as a condition of his license could not associate with known criminals, he was a business partner of one of the biggest cocaine traffickers in America. And he did extraordinary favors for this 3-time convicted felon that I describe in my biography of Trump, The Making of Donald Trump. And those favors make absolutely no sense whatsoever unless they were in the cocaine business together, in which case they all make sense. And this is true of Trump's relationships with others. Trump has often tried to posture that, well, I was in New York construction and I had to deal with mobsters. Absolutely true. But there's plenty of evidence that he has gratuitously gone out of his way to be involved with Albanian mobsters, Middle East mobsters, Jewish mobsters, Russian mobsters. It's just who he is. He has been a career criminal. He's not, to be clear, he's a white-collar criminal. He doesn't break people's legs. He doesn't have people shot, at least not when he was a businessman. He cheats with broken promises, contracts, refusals to pay, and other techniques that white-collar criminals use. And in fact, I'm going to be teaching white-collar crime at the university where I'm a professor, Rochester Institute of Technology, this fall, because I've written extensively about it and covered it for decades. So it's important to understand when Donald says he wants Netanyahu to get a pardon, he believes world leaders who are in his favor that they shouldn't be subject to any law whatsoever. And in Bibi's case, it is internal corruption. It's bribery, breach of duty. Those are serious crimes. Donald doesn't think that bribery and extortion are crimes if he's the beneficiary of them.
Yes. And last but not least, how do you analyze this timing of, is there any connection between this Israel's war towards Iran and election of Netanyahu?
Well, Netanyahu's trial is on hiatus right now because of the war. So, yeah, it's a good question, Suma. Why would Trump bring this up at this moment? And I think it's part of a reassurance to Bibi that he is together with him, that they're united. There is, after all, large opposition in Israel, both to Gaza and to a lesser degree, for sure, what's happening in the attack on Iran. So
Yes.
Trump needs to make sure that he keeps Netanyahu close to him and reassures him of his support. And of course, Netanyahu, grew up in the U.S. He's a graduate of a suburban Philadelphia high school. So he has long ties to the U.S. that Trump would want to protect. If Netanyahu were to be convicted at the end of his trial, I wouldn't be shocked if Donald Trump said, we're going to fly you out of Israel to the U.S. and give you asylum.
With that, I'd like to thank Mr. David K. Johnston for joining us today and sharing that insight with us on NewsX World. Thank you very much. Now we move on to Russia-Ukraine. At least 10 people, including